to go?
Ready.
All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talk to Danielle podcast. I am your host, Danielle C. Baker. And before we get started, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to whichever channel you're listening or watching from. And of course, this is season 4, so I do invite you to have a look at the 3 previous seasons. There may be some topics there that will resonate with your reality today. We're going to jump right in. I have the amazing Rachel Russell with me. We're working on opposite ends of the globe today. Thank you so much, Rachel, for joining me. I'm really excited to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm really stoked that you're in Ottawa and I'm in Western Australia and we're hanging out together. That's so cool. Very,
It
very
is,
cool.
it's so surreal. And that's what I love about the world that we're in right now, because it just organically happened. We just met through a common person, and it just grows from there. I'm just having such a great experience with that. So yes, opposite ends of the literally opposite ends of the planet. And
Yeah.
mentioned before when we were off camera, when the first time we met is basically we're like cousins. Canada and Australia are very much like cousins. So it's so familiar. But we're going to jump right in before we get started about, we will be talking about parenting and how sometimes we expect to show up a certain way and it doesn't quite happen. Can you talk a little bit about yourself and what you do and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. So you and I are very similar creatures in that we come from education, early childhood, see a need, go and meet the need. So I was a teacher for 25 years in primary school. I now teach at the tertiary level. Um, but I was seeing over time the amount of kids coming through my doors in my classroom, whereby there was lots of anxiety, there was lots of sensory issues, there was, in some kids, lack of interest or in kind of life, in having a go, in very committed to what happens when I get this wrong. I'm not going to try
Mm,
anything. And I was working with a lot of parents that just did not know what to do with that, didn't understand regulation, co-regulation, self-regulation, discipline, boundaries, etc. And as a teacher, as you know, our hands are tied with how much we can say.
yeah.
And so, and how much we can help and how much is perceived advice or, where the lines are drawn. And so I decided to leave education, primary education. I decided to leave that and go and start my own business. Um, I did some extra training. I didn't just leave, but I did some extra training. So my background's in neuroscience, early childhood psychology, literature. And so I started my business. It's called Quite Frankly Coaching, and I work mainly with kids and family in the neurodivergent space. I work with a lot of kids and families with ADHD. And I mainly work with parents. I would sort of say now I'm a parent coach. I started off working with kids, and then I just invariably went to the mums mainly. And so we look at lots and lots of cool things like how the brain develops, the nervous system responses, all of that kind of cool stuff. I'm also similar to you. I host a podcast. I've written a book. It's on raising rad kids, which I believe in the States, rad is something different to what RAD means here, but RAD over here stands for Regulation, Autonomy, Daring. So I've looked at all of the things that kept coming up in my work with families. So looking at how the brain develops, how the nervous system develops, what the unconscious mind does, and how that informs children's behavior and development, particularly, theta brainwave states, which sounds really nerdy and neurosciencey, but really important to know why our kids are the way they are. And is it a decision that they're making to be not great, or is it developmentally something going on?
Right.
And so that's really great. And so now I get to travel around my state and my country and the world online, sprouting this awesome work and talking to really great, inspiring leaders like yourself. And I think the biggest thing I love about my work is either seeing a child or a parent have what Oprah calls an aha moment, where it
Yeah.
all comes together and they realize they're not alone. They realize they're being understood. They realize that behavior is different to the child or different to the parent, and where kids can come back and feel connected to themselves. And so I feel like that's my life's mission, and I'm really happy to bring it about.
I love that. It's such important work, and I love that you mentioned that aha moment. And I think that's why I also started pivoting towards the parents because I worked with children as
Mhm.
well. And it's just to see that it's like a spark, and they just get, and it's the energy they bring home afterwards too. Is just like now they get it, and it's just that much easier. It's so empowering for the parents. So
Absolutely.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. And I also love that you work with the nervous system because that's one thing that I find in many other works that they don't factor that in. It's so important. And not just for the kids, but for the parents, because
Mhm.
for the first few years, our children are piggybacking off of they're co-regulating. So they're feeding off of our energy. So if we're not regulated, if our nervous system is hijacked, then that's what we're teaching our children. So it's so important. Um,
Mm.
I'd like to jump in right in. I think it starts. There's many different ways that I wanted to take this, but I'd like to start with uh, what kind of work do you do with parents when, as we find out we're about to be parents, we have this image of how we're going to show up, how our kids are going to be, and sometimes we may be just a little too ahead of the game. So how can
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
work as parents, for those who are listening, when we think that our children are developmentally ready for certain things, but they really aren't? And this could be physically or uh, on the cognitive level or any emotionally even. Um, how do you work that to work with where your child is at now versus what you think they should be at now, and where do we
Mhm.
find
Mhm.
that balance in there?
Sure. And I think it's the great paradox. So I kind of want to go back a step in order to answer that question fully. I don't know whether you've done much travel. Um, I traveled
Mm,
extensively for 8 years. After I finished at uni, I then went overseas and taught for 8 years, which was great. And one country that I went to that shaped, I think, had a massive impact on my life was India. And the
mm,
reason I bring this up is because to me, I often use this analogy that parenting is a lot like going to India. Okay, so like you decide you're going to go to India, you buy the guidebook, you think, oh, I haven't eaten much curry, I'll go out and try a chicken biryani, and I'll listen to some music, and I maybe buy a sari, and like I'll, kind of immerse myself a little bit. And then you're like, yeah, cool, I'm totally ready to go to India. And then you go to India and you're like, holy bloody hell, what have I just got myself into? It is a massive assault on the senses. Nothing could ever possibly prepare you. The
right.
biryani you had at home is nothing like how they prepare here, and the smell is bad, and there's cow poo, and like there's like what the hell? And I feel like parenting is that, like
Mhm.
we think it's going to be this one particular way and we're going to do this one thing. And I don't know about you, but I was the most amazing parent until I became one,
Right.
right?
Yes, I
Like,
love how you said that. Yeah.
right? Like, my kid's never going to have a dummy, or you say pacifier, like my kid's never going to do that. My kid's going to be asleep, and my kid's not. And then you have the kid, and you're like, holy shit balls, what just
Yeah.
happened, right? This kid sleeps 45 minutes a night and doesn't sleep, and it's got colic, and all of the stuff you didn't know about yourself that you've never
Yeah.
thought about all comes up, right? And so we go in with a perceived idea of how it's going to be, and then reality hits, and we just haven't caught up. So our brain is 3 years ahead of where our body is, and our nervous system is probably 7 years behind, right? And
Right.
so we come in with a perceived notion and expectation of how it's all going to play out. And so what happens then is our children come born knowing with a set of, like, they're a blank slate, but they come with a knowing, a sense of who they are. And they did not read the memo on our expectations.
Yeah.
They just, they just didn't get it, right? So they rock up. I don't know about you when I had my kids, I was like, great, they're going to love football and cricket, and we're going to be at the beach every day because we live in the sun, and this is going to be the best thing ever. And listen, I tried. I
Yeah.
tried. they came with their own agendas and their own, things. As an academic, I was like, oh, my kids are going to love reading. They're going to be this, that, that, and the other. I mean, my kids couldn't write their name until they were 6. They didn't learn to read until grade 4. Do you know? Like they just had their own agendas.
Right.
Um, and so the biggest piece of advice that I can give any parent in terms of developmental, like I think you should be here, you should know better, I think this should be this way, is number one, do not compare and contrast. Your child is not a Venn diagram,
Yeah.
right? Your child has got a set of blueprints that it will subscribe to, and it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
nope.
just the way it is.
It's just the way it is. So, can
Yeah.
you be encouraging? Absolutely. But can you be demonstrative and, thou shalt? I think no. And, if we're here on the planet to bring about love, connection, and belonging, I think take your cues from your child, push a little, read the play when you can. But I would be coming back to, is it your set of circumstances or theirs? Did
Yeah.
they have the autonomy and the interdependence, or is it about you? Because there will be pushback, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, the other part to that is, and there's misconceptions about this a lot, but if we look at brain development, the part of the brain that does problem solving, reasoning, language development, that part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, that does not fully develop until mid to late 20s.
I know. Yeah.
Right? And then if we throw in a little bit of neurospice, right? What we're now seeing now in neurodivergent kids, the studies coming out now, there's up to a 30% delay in that ability to have that part of the brain fully functioning and fully developed. And so if we're saying things like, you're 10 now, mate, you should be able to, I expect you to be, and they're not ready yet, like that's really hard. That's going to set you both up for failure and you will face plant.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say still have the expectations, but lower them ever so slightly. Take your cues from your child, chunk some things down so that it's, one instruction at a time, and kind of come back to the intention of why are you wanting your child to do the thing. I do know that comparing and contrasting is really hard work. I don't know about you. In Australia, we have parent groups and mothers groups and play groups and things like that where new mums can get together with other new mums and you can sit around and hang out, which is lovely for connection, but it starts to get treacherous when we start to compare.
Yes.
My baby's sleeping through the night, my baby's rolling over, and you're looking at your child who's doing neither and wondering, like, I'm epically failing and I've got, like, I'd like a refund, please, right?
Yes.
Um, which is so if our children come with their own set of blueprints and we come with our own set of blueprints, I think we need to kind of just take the pressure off. Like, I don't know about you, but when I see people, like if I go to a wedding and I see the groom walk down the aisle, the bride walk down the aisle, I'm not wondering, oh, was she breastfed? I wonder if she was a
Yeah.
Caesar baby. I wonder if she slept through the night. Like,
Yeah.
it's so irrelevant. It doesn't even matter. So,
So
there's
true.
benchmark targets, but then there's also, the sliding scale. And so that's what I would say to that.
I love that. It's so true that we put such an emphasis on the progress in their development that we're forgetting the time to actually connect with our child. It's just like we're just sitting there with a checklist and just waiting for it to happen and
Mm,
stressing them. Because you mentioned at the beginning that as a teacher, you would see how the kids would come to school. Like the day just started and they're already stressed out. They're already worried they're going to fail. The day hasn't even started yet and they think they're failing.
hmm
It's an amount, a huge amount of pressure for a little person to be starting a day off with. So yeah, if we can take that off, I love how you said that. Are you pushing for yourself or for the child? Such a big
hmm
difference because I work with that. We need to put the pride and ego aside here. Let's work with what your child needs right now. And that's so difficult to work around because we want our children to succeed. We want them to be the best. But I love that. I'm going to use that wedding analogy. It was like, I wonder what time, how old was she when she started reading? It
Right,
really is irrelevant. Yeah, I love that.
right. And
Yeah.
then, just like in terms of cognitive development in schools, and I'm sure Canada is the same as Australia, our curriculum development has evolved, and I use the word loosely. I wouldn't say evolved. It's become more complex and academically pushed down so much so that now children who are coming into pre-kindy and kindy, so they're 3 and 4, are now expected to know by the end of the year what our once upon a time 6 and 7 year olds needed to know, right? Forsaking playtime. I don't know about you. I used to like get the glue and like smoosh it all over my hand and then like clap my hands together and watch it. There's no time for that. Or someone brought a frog in, right? And then we just
Yeah.
talked about amphibians and like all the things for like half a day. We don't do that anymore. We don't bring our gumboots and play outside in the rain anymore. We just don't have the time. We do have the time. We've decided we don't have the time. And so I would be questioning, like you and I probably didn't learn, I didn't learn to read till I was 8.
Hmm.
And I
I
thought
don't,
I was a super big deal when I learned to read at 8. Like, whoa, I have arrived. But now kids have to be 4 and learn to read, but they're not ready to learn to read. So
yeah.
like I think we all just need to chill out a bit, you know?
Yeah, I started noticing that too when I worked with preschools and they were expecting to count to 100 already. And I'm thinking, some of them are just learning words now. Like they're not
Yeah.
there yet. Or to be the scissors, and I'm thinking the muscles, their bones are not even fused together yet. Their muscles are not even developed yet. And that's we're expecting so much out of it. So I agree. We need to chill.
Mm.
It's going to happen. I used to have parents who would come to me worried, like they don't know how to count by units of 10, and they're just starting kindergarten. And I'm thinking, they're going to learn. Like, don't worry about
Yeah.
that. Can they wait
Yeah.
their turn? Are they able to express how they feel? Are they
Right.
able to it's self-regulate? Well, let's work on that a little bit before we start stressing our kids even more and have them all their
Yeah.
nervous system at a level that they can't manage, and then we add to that, so it's a lot. I was wondering because you've touched on so many different things that where parents will need to take a step back and say, okay, let's reevaluate how I'm showing up for my child. How do you work with the families when you do realize that your child may not be developing as quickly as you expected to, where that they start triggering you and you realize that you were a perfect parent before you had your kids and now reality just kicked in. There's a grieving uh, uh,
Hmm.
period there where you really do have to look within yourself to say, okay, how do I show up now? How do I want to be, and how can I support my child? How do you work with your families there in terms of we don't see it as grieving because we haven't lost anything, but we've lost that image of that perfect utopian
Yeah.
world that we were creating for ourselves.
So I'm a really big avid fan of working with what you know,
Hmm.
right? Working with what you know and working with what you can control with what you know. So when I became a new mum, what I thought it was going to be like versus what it was actually like was two completely different things. And I went to the pool one day with a friend and we were both just cutting laps because that was our kind of time to chill out. And I just said to her, I don't know that I'm coping very well. Like, I love my child, but motherhood, man, not so much. Like, what is this? Um, and she said, I've decided to treat it like a job. And I was
Mm.
like, that's pretty cool. Like, I like that. And so, but being a teacher and being in administration, right, I can't just have a job. I need to have goalposts and KPIs. And um,
Yes.
so as I was swimming, I was like, what if you designed a mission statement for your family as a parent? And I was
Right.
like, that sounds very teacherish. And I'm like, I know, but like, you work with what you know, right? So I was like, okay, what's my mission statement as a mum? What do I want to achieve out of this? What's my goal? Where am I going? And so I
Right.
worked out all the things I wanted to do. And I'm like, if you could sum all of those up, what would that be? And it was like, oh, I just want to and at the time I only had one child, but I knew down the track I'd have more, but So I've got two. So then my goal was, my mission statement is, I just want to raise two good, kind humans. That's it. And so I don't know if creating a mission statement is going to fly for everybody, but I really do believe that if you are in a whirlwind of grief and like this isn't how I wanted it to be and my kid isn't how I thought they were going to be, your kid is exactly who they are meant to be. And if you
Yeah.
can adjust your sails to work out what you can control and how you can handle it, that is going to save you a lot of grief and create a lot of love. Because for me, when my kids were acting in a way that I perceived as whatever, negative, I would come back to my intention. Is this behavior or is this development clause or is this whatever? Is this in line with my mission statement? Well, it actually is. Okay, so your kid's 7 and they can't write their name yet, but who, like, is that, like, are they still good, kind humans? Yeah, they are. Okay. So, I mean, we can do the dotted thirds and we can laminate and we can do the name and we can go on the monkey bars and we can build the strength to get the things and we can have the chats in the car and I spy and all of the things we can do. But being hung up on the end result goes because I come back to the intention.
I love that. That
Yeah.
is so important. And it's
Yeah.
that, yeah, it does sound like you say teachery, but it works. I mean, if that's, I can see that helping so much in cutting out the background noise, all the, you should be doing this, what you're hearing from the families, from the grandparents, from the, we comparing with through the mother groups. And I love that just to have that one bigger goal. It's not my, I want my child to be a doctor or what, but the bigger goal. How do I want them to be as a human being?
Yeah.
Brings us
Yeah.
back to that connection. I love that.
Yeah. And then, so underpinning that is all the other questions that I had. How do they tick? What makes them happy? Are they kind? Can they show empathy? Do they know what that feels like? How are they like at friendships? Can they wait their turn? Can they listen? Can they actively listen to others? Can they
Yeah.
share? Can they respond? Can they be polite? Can they be honest? Can they have autonomy? Like all the things I wanted for them in order to, um, because you and I both know very, very clever on paper, very, very clever, smart people who I don't know how they're functioning in the world, right?
So true. It's so
And
true.
so,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah.
so, and I do believe that if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up there.
Hmm. Well, that's
So
a,
for
yeah, I'm
those that
sorry.
are wanting developmental milestones or wanting cognitive development in a particular way, I would say, okay, but how come?
Hmm.
Like, why? Is it because that's what they should be doing? Okay, how come? Who said? Like, why? You know?
Yeah.
Um, and where are they on the other things? So that's, yeah, I
And
think
it's
it's very
so important.
important.
Yeah, and even like we both worked in this in the school setting, so we everything that you mentioned about are they able to wait their turn? How are they within their friendships? Are they is it reciprocal? Is it, is it give and take or is it all give, give, give? Those are the kind of things you want to be teaching before they even start school because of the modeling, I guess, like, 'cause I don't like to use that word, but
Yeah,
they need to have a good foundation. Otherwise, they're just going to follow what they see in class, and then
absolutely.
you don't have as much control there than you would if. So I love that. Oh my goodness, I could talk to you so much longer, but I wanted to before we wrap it everything up, I wanted to talk about your book a little bit more. And if people are interested, it's called Raising R.A.D Kids,
Mhm.
Parenting with the Brain on the Mind, which I love that. Could you talk a little bit about that and where people could get it as well?
Sure. So, as I said earlier, my background is in neuroscience and education. So, I just wanted to, I wanted to write a book for a parent who's super busy and could read it literally in 4 hours. I
Hmm.
wanted to write a book for the parent who was me, who had a set of criteria that they thought they needed to reach in order to attain this epic parent mode. And what I realized very early on, and you did too, and people we work with now get it, is there's no such thing as perfect parenting.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. But there is definitely such a thing as present parenting. And I wanted to be there to write a book from the brain and the nervous system and the unconscious mind with practical application of what that actually looks like on a day-to-day basis. So,
Mm,
how to cultivate curiosity, boundaries, discipline, resilience, in like 19 bite-sized chapters that you can just go, okay, okay, okay. And then at the back, there's just tools and tricks that you could just try and go, okay, well, I'll try that today. Um, because, 1% better today is better than yesterday. Um, and I wanted to write a book for who I was when I first started out parenting. And as again, we mentioned, came in with these whole set of ideals of how it was going to be. And then reality was like, nah. um, and then really floundering, just like not knowing which way was up. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners can also understand. I was waiting for the village to come and help, and there wasn't a village. And
that is,
there's single parents out there. My husband works FIFO, which means he's fly in, fly out, so he's not home. So I feel at times like a married single parent. I'm sure there'd be a lot of your listeners that feel that way. I don't have family nearby, so I was literally on my own. Um, and I just didn't know. And I was a at that time I had 15 years experience and 3 degrees, and I still didn't know. So I was like, I need to write a book for people who want to give the best that they can be and have beautiful relationships with their children and not stuff it up,
yeah.
you know, and contribute to world peace, but just don't know how. And so that's how the book came about. So it's available on Amazon. I'm sure the link will be in the show notes. But yeah, that's where you
I
can
love
find it.
that.
Yeah,
I love that. And the fact, like you said, it's a book that you could just read and relate to right away. It's not something where you have to start looking up, definitions of certain terms. It is what it
yeah,
is. It's the realistic view. A parent can actually relate to it and say, "Oh, I'm not alone. This is normal. What I thought
yeah.
was
You're
not
not alone.
normal is actually
Um,
normal." It's so relieved.
and
It's
I actually had a moment when I write about it in the book, but I was kind of weaning off bottle feeding, breastfeeding, and going onto solids. And the you know the what I had 17 parenting books because I didn't have a village and I didn't have a family, right?
right.
So nearby. So I had all of the books. I call myself the Imelda Marcos of parenting books, right? I was like, oh, a new book. And one of the books said, if you look over at your baby at 7 o'clock, he'll be asleep. And I'm looking at my baby climbing up the walls going, what?
Yeah.
Another book said your baby will be now eating every 4 hours. And mine was screaming blue murder within 3 hours. And so I popped him in the car and I drove around until 4 hours. And then I was like, this is bloody ridiculous. Like, if I was starving and you shoved me in a car and drove me for an hour,
All right.
I'd scream too, right? Like, that's just dumb. So
Yeah.
I went out in my backyard and I set them alight. I put them in the incinerator. I burnt them all. And I was like, I need to write a parenting book that is on the ground, that is
Mm,
not patronizing, it's not condescending, it's just facts and
yeah.
figures. This is what's going on in the brain, the nervous system, the unconscious mind around about now. This is what it might look like. This is what you could try. Over to you. Reject, accept. I don't care. But, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and for busy parents, you could literally read it. I've had parents say to me, that was the easiest read. I felt like you were just in the room,
Yeah.
like talking to me. Because we don't have time to dedicate 18,000 hours. And I don't want to read tomes and tomes of boring brain
Mm,
stuff,
yeah.
right? And I'm
You just
into it. So, and I still don't want to read it. So I'm sure busy parents don't want to either. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, and that's what parents need is something they can relate to right away, and that's not going to overwhelm them even more than they already are. So I love that. So for anybody who's listening, yeah, go ahead and check it out on Amazon. Is there anything else, anything new you're working on, or anything that you wanted to share before we wrap up?
Just keep an eye out. The book that I wrote was going to be a standalone, but I'm now writing trilogy. So one I'm writing is for educators, and again, teachers are super busy with all
Yeah.
the things. So again, it's going to be bite-size try this, try this, try this, try this. And then I'm also writing one for kids. So
That
they
is
can
awesome.
read or, watch some pictures and not feel so alone and feel connected with who they really are. And that's my mission.
Oh, that is so great. I can't wait to see those because educators, teachers need them as well. And like you said, they're overwhelmed, they're spread thin. So it's
Yeah,
something that they can just take and they'll understand it right away. I love that. Oh,
yeah,
so much I can do. It's, if anybody wants to see more about your work or find out more, work with you, what is the best way to reach you or to,
sure.
a website or
So,
anything like that?
yeah, sure. So, my business is called Quite Frankly Coaching. I'm on all of the socials. You can check out the website, it'll be in the show notes. I host the Parent Pod, which is a pretty cool podcast. It's on Apple and Spotify, which it is contributed to every week. So, yeah,
Hmm.
I'd love to hear from you. Any feedback would be amazing. Yeah, we're just here to make the world a little bit smaller and a little bit brighter.
I love that. Oh, I could
Yeah.
really talk to you all day, but uh, I
Likewise.
don't, I couldn't, I can't remember if I talked to you about this question I asked my guests at the end of the show. Okay, I wasn't too sure. I was going to prepare you for it, so I'm going to just flat out and ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Oh, what do I want to be when I grow up? That's such a cool, cool question. I mean, that's the presupposition that I am going to grow up. So
Yeah,
I
right. I'm the
would
same.
probably
Like
say,
I'm not gonna grow
I would
up, but
probably
let's
just
see.
say more of this, more of
Yes,
this, like so more of this. I've got some really big goals. So I would say more of this. Just, yeah, more
I
of
love that.
this. This is so rad. I'm so here for it.
I know. Oh, I love that. That's why I love asking that question because it's just you're there. You're just gonna keep building on that. I love it. It's so
Yeah.
wonderful. But
What about you? What's your answer?
oh my goodness, mine changes all the time. And I was actually thinking about that yesterday. I was like, I don't even know what I'm there to. I'm all about just because you mentioned there's so many expectations from us when we're younger that I'm like, I should have been here by now. I should be this. And I stopped myself and I was like, no, I'm having fun. I'm loving what I'm doing. I am this. Yeah, I'm there too. I'm just living it so that people can see that it can be done. And so I
Mm,
love that. I think right now what I want to be when I grow up is I want to make sure that I'm the adult that I wanted to be when I was little. I'm kind of going back into that little girl and just doing whatever it is that she wanted to do. So that's where I'm at right now. But that
that's
answer
so
changes all the time, though. But right now,
good.
I just want
Good.
to. I want to live. I want to have fun and on my terms. And yeah, I'm just going with it. It's a lot of fun.
That's so cool. So rad. And it's meant to be fluid, right? Like
Yeah,
it's meant to be.
exactly.
You're not a
That's why I like
tree.
that's why I like asking that questions to adults because we keep forgetting that we're still growing up. We're still evolving.
Mm,
I don't like
mm,
asking that question for children because it's limiting. But but for adults, I think it's a lot of fun. It actually makes us think, wait, am I doing what I actually want to be doing?
yep.
So I love that. I will put all the information, your website and all of that in the description box and how to get your book as well. But before we go, is there anything else you'd like to add or share some words of wisdom before we no.
I think if you are a mom or a dad listening to this podcast, I just want you to know that you are perfect, whole, and complete exactly as you
Mhm.
are. There is, kids are hard. There's no rule book, right?
It is.
And just keep showing up, keep keep knowing what your intention is, and just keep working towards that.
I love
And
that.
you are there's there's no right or wrong about this. You just are, right? And just you've got this. And don't listen to your mother-in-law. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
You're fine. I love that. And you actually are fine. You're not just saying I'm fine, but you
No,
are.
you're actually
You're
fine. You're
fine.
fine. There's no, you
Yeah.
can't get this wrong. It's fine.
No, it's so true. And you know in your heart when it's right and when it's wrong. So yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing
No
that.
worries.
And
Thank you so
you're
much for having me.
You're more than welcome to always come back anytime you want. We'll definitely want to hear more about your upcoming books and everything else that you covered. So thank you. It's always so much fun talking with you. It feels like we've been talking forever. I love that it's like we've known each other. But I will yeah, I'll put all the information in the description box so people can have a look at your work. And anytime you want to come back on, I'd love to have you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And for everybody watching, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to whichever channel you're listening or watching from. Don't forget to go check out Rachel's site as well. And until next time, stay safe, stay awesome, and we'll talk soon.